Definitely look for ways to get young people involved. We have a boxing academy in our ward, free for the kids. You know, assist those type of individuals who are willing to give back into the ward and assist them to reach the goals that they are setting forth. But also we have to understand that kids, they are very broad. You have kids that hate sports and love Nintendo, but let's meet them where they're at. Let's provide those opportunities for them. Let's work with nonprofit organizations, churches, and those people who want to help. Let's identify them and put them to work.
Thanks, Mr. Nagin.
I think the question has to do with what ways we can find for young people to find alternatives to crime. And I think that's why I was talking about partnerships to develop youth programs for the young people. I think that we need to partner with all of the institutions, with the block clubs, with the churches. I think the churches can play a very important role. There's a lot of youth organizations within the churches. There's a lot of positive activity that is taking place with young people, and we have to really encourage it. And this is obviously a very key question, especially as long as the economic crisis is continuing and there aren't jobs for people. We have to, and that is, of course, the key to the whole problem. But we have to work with the situation that we have right now to find programs for the young people.
Thanks, Mr. D'Amico.
In my opening statement, I stated about a recreational facility in the ward, and there is none at this point. I think the closest place to go is the Zone Center on West 65th. The Y in Brooklyn is closed down, so there is no place for these kids to go. They have no direction except to go on the street. So if I am elected, I will make sure that there is a recreational facility in the ward that these people and kids can go to. Just keep them out of trouble.
Thanks, Mr. Cummins.
Thank you. Well, I think clearly one thing that we've learned already in Brooklyn Center over the last 8 years, we actually did an assessment of after-school care and found out that one of the toughest things to deal with is youth that are between the ages of really 13, 14 to 18. So that is something that I would try to focus on. It's clearly been identified as a problem. As my colleagues here have said, we need to focus, first of all, on trying to strengthen existing programs and really clearly identifying them and finding out what we can do to help them increase the participation of youth in those current programs, including the utilization of the schools. Lincoln West really serves the heart of this community, and I think that high school and the facilities that are at that high school need to be better utilized by the entire community, frankly, with the resources that are there. So.
Thanks. Mr. Cintron.
With my experience as a 5-year correctional officer, I understand that issue very clearly. Children who already have criminal records are having a difficult time of getting grants to continue higher education, are having a difficult time to getting jobs because of their criminal record. One thing that we have to be more aggressive is that how to expunge those records if they made that crime when they were young individuals. Also, at the same time, there's federal bond dollars that is out there that will assist business owners if they hire some of these individuals. Our children walk on a fine line. We all walk on a fine line. It's easy to get a felony record. The key thing is how can we protect those children and each individual to have not that felony records on their records. And with creating jobs through the city of Cleveland when manufacturings are open up to making sure that there's legislation in that piece of receiving grant from us that they will hire these individuals.
Thank you. Next question.
First, I'd like to make a very quick comment. My name is Myra. I'm with Latino Cleveland at latinocleveland.com. I was raised on West 30th where my family came as immigrants. I had 7 aunts and uncles that lived on that street. And now when I drive on that street, it is completely disappointing that over the past few months there have been 3 murders, 2 on the lawns of my aunts. And we're talking about a street where it's the high school is right there. School is starting.
May we have a question, please?
Yeah, the question is, I'm a young entrepreneur starting my own marketing and communications company and wondering what plans do you have to implement to support young entrepreneurs?
Let's see, go in the order of Mr. D'Amico first, and then Mr. Cummins, Mr. Cintron, Mr. Nagin, and Mr. Torres. I'll keep track of it. Mr. D'Amico.
One of the things I wanted to do was to bring more people into the neighborhood to start new businesses, and I want to make some programs available where the funding comes to these new businesses. I will hire a grant writer to help you get money to start these businesses, because that's the only way that this ward is continue to grow is with new people come in. Thank you.
And Mr. Cummins.
Thank you. Well, first of all, in terms of young entrepreneurs, I've had a very active presence on the internet over the last several years in terms of blogging and just social networking in general. So I think that could be helpful in your endeavors. I've also worked with the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce because there was not a merchants association in Brooklyn Center in Old Brooklyn, and rather than reinventing one, we actually partnered kind of a greater Brooklyn chamber. So the idea of some type of a professional association where we can bring speakers in, try to get some energy developed within the working and entrepreneurial class within the community. You know, there's been some talk of the Hispanic community and the small businesses. There's a tremendous amount of entrepreneurship within those communities. It's been tradition in their cultures. I think we need to tap that in terms of professional forums, not to meet just to meet, but to actually share, do inter-business connections, et cetera. Thank you.
Mr. Cintron.
As an entrepreneur, I understand you issue personally. At the age of 10, I was already out there doing business. Recently, we just opened a new radio station in the Painesville area, and I opened that station to a lot of young people. I have one prime example, Myra Perez, who's sitting here, that we opened that door of opportunity for her to be a broadcaster. Martin Leja was my program director. The problem that we're facing is that if you don't have the experience, they're not going to give you the opportunity. I'm willing to put funding on the side to make sure that there's an educational process for young entrepreneurs to open their businesses. It is small pop and mom stores that are the backbone taxpayers of the city and this country. And we are getting away from that and looking at corporations to lead us for our vision. So I am willing to make sure that there's funding and this goals, your goals, and other young people's goals will be implemented throughout the city of Cleveland.
Mr. Nagin.
Well, I certainly would like to meet with your organization and get your thinking about what you would need and what we could do. I think that it's very interesting that Councilman Cintron has started a new radio station. He's been involved in broadcasting and the media for a long time. And I think that, especially in the Hispanic community, that we need to develop that and encourage that, and encourage the Spanish newspaper, El Sol de Cleveland, to develop and to provide opportunities for encourage businesses. We're going to be opening the bridge to the zoo, and there's going to be a lot of people traveling through Ward 14. And the opportunity, I think, for opening up Hispanic restaurants and other venues, clubs and so on, will open up. And as I said, I think that the Hispanic community can become a real resource and a destination for Ward 14.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Torres.
Ward 14 is more than just Hispanics. Ward 14 used to have butcher shops and bakeries, shoe repair, check cashing stores. But now we have a bunch of empty buildings. What is it that we need? Businesses like yours that'll employ people. What would I do is take a look at the resource that we have, empty buildings, use blight law to take those properties by eminent domain, and look for a collaboration of businesses that need phone services, need receptionists, need office space, need mailing rooms, need a place to meet clientele and give a professional appearance. Meet you where you're at, because you're not the only one out there. And make Ward 14 a hub of business. I'm sorry, I was looking over there. But there's a lot of things we can do, and I'm very experienced in that, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, candidates, and thank you, audience, for your questions. Now, as moderator, I would like to ask each of the candidates a final question.